Hey, what up, fam? It's your boy Norm, and I would like to welcome you to episode 65 of the Evangelical Norm. Um, tonight's topic is pretty touchy and is volatile, I guess you could say. I'm probably gonna, well, who am I kidding? I have 25 subscribers. I don't know how much hate mail or anything I'm gonna get over this, but I really want to talk about. And I guess it's going to lead into the Judge Kavanaugh accusations. Really, it stems off of the why I didn't report hashtag that is going around, and just some things that I've seen, and then a video that popped up today from CNN that is just, it's stomach turning, I guess, is a way to describe it. Um, Absurd, disgusting, and I'll show it here in a minute. But so here's the deal. Yeah, this Dr. Christine Ford, I think it is her first name. I don't remember. Dr. Ford is all I keep seeing. So we'll go with that. I'm not. I haven't. I followed it enough, but names I'm not paying attention to. Apparently, so she has made this accusation, um, and most of the people that are witnesses and so on, it doesn't look good on her side of things. We'll just put it that way. Um, but I didn't want to immediately jump out and say she was lying, nor did I want to jump out and say Kavanaugh was wrong, because we have a thing in this country called due process, and we have to let it happen. No, she shouldn't automatically be assumed to be a liar, but he shouldn't automatically be assumed to be a sexual predator either. He is innocent until proven guilty still in this country. And we seem to have a problem um, right now figuring out the balance in that. And especially and I can only come at this from a Christian point of view, which is what I do all the time, of trying to find truth. We have to let these things play out. We can't immediately accuse him and say she's absolutely 100%, because we've seen false accusations before. But we can't immediately call her a liar because of who he is or anything else. We have to let it play out. We have to let the due process happen. And we're so stinking divided in this country right now that it's ugly. And I don't even know what to do with it anymore. I mean, I find myself in this place where I want to comment, but I don't want to comment, because it just leads into ugliness. And it's the same thing with situations of race, especially right now in the evangelical community, in the Reformed communities, in the Christian church at large. This issue of race, and now we've had the statement on social justice and the gospel, which we talked about. And the problem is, and this is what I want to get to, and I've mentioned it before, and so maybe we're beating a dead horse, but it bears beating. That on both sides, we jump too soon to the conclusion that our side is right, and we come to this place, and unfortunately, it seems to come from, on right now, what in the political sphere, this whole issue with Kavanaugh. And part of the reason this video is part of the reason I'm so glad I distanced myself from the GOP. I When they nominated Donald Trump, I changed my party affiliation to independent, because I refuse to be part of a party that is led by Donald Trump. Sorry. He's a serial adulterer. He is a man of poor moral character. and not, I don't think, so there, I left the GOP and I did not vote for Trump. Bottom line, I agree with a lot of the policies that he's putting through, but I hate the things that he puts out on Twitter. I hate I wish someone would take his phone away, but I digress. Again, we're seeing on the race issue, and it what we're seeing, and it correlates to the political sphere with this situation is it seems like anytime anything of race comes up, when our brothers and sisters of color, um, something happens in their in the black community or in the Latino community or wherever, and cries of racism come out, that people on the white side of it are quick to come to the defense. Oh, no, 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 it couldn't possibly be racism. Well, it could possibly be racism. It really could. We have to let it play out. We can't immediately come to the defense, like the situation of the black guy that got shot in his own apartment, you know. And what did they do? Oh, well, he had some marijuana in there. Okay, who cares? This female police officer went into his apartment with no reason and killed a man. Now, I can't say that she was walking down the hall and said, I'm going to kill a black man today. It could be a horrible, tragic accident. It could be. Or there could be other things. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know everything involved in that. So we can't immediately cry out it's racism, but then on the other side, we can't immediately call out that it's not. Again, as Christians, our first and foremost thing should be to mourn the fact that this man died, mourn with his family, and then wait for the truth to come out. And maybe it never comes out. And then we'll know when we get into the kingdom what was true and what wasn't. But our first immediate response should be to mourn with those who mourn, to weep with those who weep, and wait for the facts to come, and not immediately jump to conclusions. And again, on the other side, not to immediately jump to accusation. This situation with Kavanaugh and this accusation, one of the things that has come from this is we're seeing right now there's a hashtag that's going around, and I could be part of this hashtag, and I chose not to. The hashtag is why I didn't report. And why I didn't choose to be part of this hashtag. So there are men and women who are putting out, talking about why they didn't report their sexual assault or their sexual abuse or their rape or whatever it was that happened to them. And they're giving these reasons of why they didn't do it. Okay. And so supposedly this is in conjunction with the fact that it's been 36 some years, 35, 36 years since what allegedly happened at this party with Kavanaugh and Dr. Ford. But as I'm looking through and I'm reading these, this is just where people are being able to have a release. It really feels like it. And I don't think it means that every single one of these people who are on this hashtag are supporting Dr. Ford and her allegation. But that's exactly the reason why I didn't tell my story under that hashtag, is I didn't want it to seem like I was supporting her. Now, if the facts come out that this happened, then I fully support her and fully think that Kavanaugh should not be confirmed for the Supreme Court. I don't really like him as a justice anyway, because he's not as pro-life as they've made him out to be. But that's another story. That's another issue. So when I was 19 years old, 18 or 19, in the Army, I was raped. And I didn't report it. And why I didn't report it, I don't know why I didn't report it. I honestly don't. Um, what I can tell you is I can remember it's been um, 20, 25 years since it happened. And I can remember every detail. Even the fact that even being drunk, I can remember every detail of everything that happened in that room that night. Should I have reported it? Yeah. I think the guy who did it should have gone to jail, but I didn't. I was a soldier. I was embarrassed, whatever. But I didn't join in on this hashtag because I didn't want it to seem like I was immediately supporting this lady. And what disturbed me about this, and this is what has caused me to talk about this, and again, it's the attitude of, and I don't know that the people, there's specifically one, it could even be a bot, I don't know, but one person that I've seen on multiple tweets in this hashtag who have jumped in, and as people are telling their story, and I'm great, tell your story. I'm okay with that. I have no problem with that. If it's helpful, if it's cleansing, whatever it is, if it helps you to tell your story and why you didn't report, then great. But from a conservative standpoint, we should not be jumping in and responding to these things by throwing shade at Dr. Ford. And I've seen it multiple times on all of these people who are saying, I didn't report because of this, 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 and this. And then people are coming in, and there were one or two different accounts that I saw do it multiple times, are coming in going, but she, Dr. Ford, but she. And it's like, that's not what it's about. Let these people have their moment of closure, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what you would even call it. But the fact that people are jumping in and on something that doesn't necessarily even have anything to do with the whole situation. This is just a cleansing moment for these people. Now I don't buy into psychology. I don't buy into all of that stuff. I think that the greatest therapy, the greatest thing for me was being saved. The gospel, again, we come back to this, the gospel is what got me past that. You know, the gospel is the thing that makes it to where I can talk about that now. Um, and yeah, it's an emotional thing for me. Um, but it's the gospel that has cleansed me. But maybe if this may be helpful for them, so we're going to let them have it, and we should not be going in and throwing shade on these people. It's ridiculous. It's the same thing of whenever somebody on, in whether it be Black Lives Matter or whatever, there's these statements that are made, and if there's people on the other side that automatically feel like they need to jump in and refute it and have this conflict that is going on. And so I don't know, it's just um, there is a divide that is happening, and it's on a greater scale in a political thing, but it's happening on a Christian level. And I think that's really the thing that I want to talk about is how do we come back together on this. um, and I want to play this video, um, simply because I watched it, and it disgusted me. It really did. So I'm gonna play this clip and just let it go for a minute, um, and then we'll talk about it. But this, yeah. Um, okay, this is a group of GOP women, apparently, and it says GOP voters, but apparently these are all like representatives in some manner in the government. So But there's one specific statement here that is horrifying, and I want to talk about it a little bit, and then we'll get to where we'll get to the gospel here somewhere. So I'll just let you listen.
But in the grand scheme of things, my goodness, there was no intercourse. There was maybe a touch.
Right.
Can we really? 36 years later, she's still stuck on that? Had it happened?
I mean, we're talking about a 15-year-old girl, which I respect. You know, I'm a woman, I respect. And we're talking about a 17-year-old boy in high school with testosterone running high. Tell me what boy hasn't done this in high school. Please, I would like to know.
Okay,
Why would she come forward if this
it.
wasn't true? Because it
That's
basically
it. That is. Yeah, sorry. I didn't do that in high school. At 17 or at any other age, to make that statement, that is ridiculous. That's like my aunt used to talk about my uncle. They're no longer married. Maybe they are. I don't know. It's neither here nor there. They're estranged. We'll put it that way. But he had some real racist issues, and she would say he came by it honestly. How do you come by racism honestly? You don't. Racism is wrong. Period. You can't come by it honestly. And sexual assault is wrong. After 36 years, a little touch? There was no intercourse? There was just a little... Well, no. I mean, none of that is okay. This is ridiculous. This is mind-numbing and stomach-turning, and it's the same thing as anybody who... The whole issue with Michael Brown was a thug, and Trayvon Martin was a criminal, and this dude, I wish I remembered his name, and I apologize. I should probably know the guy's name. He was a worship leader. He was a Christian. Didn't deserve to die in his own home by any means, but he had marijuana. Okay, so if we can make it look like they're criminals, then the death sentence is warranted? No. To make it out that, well, this is just boys will be boys? No, boys will not be boys. This is not what boys do. This is what criminals do. This is what predators do. I never did this. I mean, I was abused as a child myself, and by all means I should have been, by the standard of, those who are offended on have a tendency to offend as well, but I never did. I never did this in high school. I never did this ever. It doesn't make sense. And the divide to cause 5 women to sit in a room and somehow try to defend whether or not this happened. Now, again, we want due process to happen. We want the due process to play out, and essentially we want the facts to come out there, whether it be an investigation, whatever, testifying in front of the Senate, whatever it is that happens, but the truth needs to be able to be made known. And we shouldn't automatically assume she's a liar because he's a guy we want on the court, or our guy nominated him, and neither should we automatically assume that he is guilty because he was accused. And again, it's hard to find because you say, well, we should always believe the accuser. Well, we take the accusations at face value and then we investigate. Because sometimes those accusations come up false. So we don't immediately assume they're false, but we have to, and this is the Christian response. We mourn with this lady. If this is something that happened to her, we should be praying for her, praying for healing, praying for justice to be done, for the truth to come out. And that should ultimately be our prayer on both sides. We should pray, if it's not true, that This doesn't destroy a man's reputation. So again, we pray for truth and justice. And we, again, that's the only thing we can do as Christians. We should not be jumping to assumptions on either side in any situation, whether it be issues of race or issues of assault or issues of whatever it is. Again, social justice is not a something that is a requirement of salvation. And again, social justice is a term that we really don't, it's so vague, we don't know what it really means. But feeding the poor, doing these things is not what saves us. But those things come out of our salvation. We are saved to do good works. We are not saved by doing good works. And so again, it's a fine line of looking at what the gospel is and how that applies to actively acting out on situations and how we respond to situations. I don't know if any of these people who are throwing shade at Dr. Ford are saved or not. And I don't know if the people who are automatically assuming that Kavanaugh is, a scumbag or whatever are saved or not. Again, we have to look at facts, but our immediate response is to pray for healing for the person affected, for comfort for the people affected, for God to be glorified somehow in the situation. That's what we should be as Christians. Our immediate reaction should immediately be for prayer. And now this is where the left says, well, your thoughts and prayers are no good. There has to be action. Well, action comes later once we know more information on how we should act. But immediately we pray for truth to be revealed, we pray for comfort to be given, and we pray for God to be glorified. And I really honestly think that's where we should come to a stand on these things. And we should never make excuses for criminal acts. Again, people made excuses for Donald Trump and his adultery and sleeping with porn stars and paying off those porn stars and all these things. And people made excuses for this man. Christians made excuses for this man. Pat Robertson, Robert Jeffress, Jerry Falwell Jr., well-known Christian leaders made excuses for this man. I expect it from Paula White. She's a heretic. I don't consider her to be saved, but guys that I consider to be solid Christian teachers making excuses for an adulterer? No. GOP representatives, or even whether they're representatives or voters or whatever, making excuses for potential sexual assault, that what boy at 17 years old hasn't done this? Here's one. There are a whole lot of boys at 17 years old that do not sexually assault women. But unfortunately, also, the contrary is true. There are women that make false accusations. I'm not saying that this is a false accusation, but there are women who do. So we have to look into facts, and we cannot assume either way at the beginning. We just have to pray for truth to be revealed. And that should be our Christian reaction to these things. So I hope you're as horrified by this video of these ladies making these comments as I was. I hope You are not one of these people who will immediately assume that because somebody is presenting their story and their reasons why they didn't report their sexual assault on Twitter. One, I hope you don't assume that they're lying. And two, I hope you don't assume that they're just doing this to support this lady. Maybe they're just doing it because they need to get it off their chest. And at that point, as Christians, we should be praying for these people. Ultimately praying that the gospel will break through into their lives and, one, bring them to the salvation that they need, but two, to bring healing to those situations. That's how we should be responding as a Christian. And as always, we need to be preaching the gospel at all times. We need to use words, they're necessary. And until next week, Soli Deo Gloria.